If I ask you to picture poverty, what do you see? Is it a hungry child? Or a man sleeping rough on the street? These are the images many of us see, but the reality can look quite different. And here in Canberra, a city that many of us think of as comfortable and middle class, poverty can look much quieter. It can look like a boy with no socks, or a baby without a safe place to sleep. That's material deprivation, and it isn't just about what's missing, it's about what's lost. When my kids were little, I used to give their second-hand items away for free on Facebook Marketplace. Has anyone here ever tried doing that? If you have, you'll know what a nightmare it can be. So many messages at all hours of the day, and only a slim chance that anyone shows up when they actually say they will. So in 2018, I started Roundabout Canberra. At the time, I thought I was just setting up a way to get second-hand items into the hands of families that could use them. But what I've learned since has changed how I see poverty, dignity, and community. Professor Sharon Bessell from the Australian National University reminds us that poverty isn't just about money. It's about missing the basics and the impact that has on relationships and opportunities. And in my work, I see how dignity sits right at the heart of that. A social worker from a local public school told me that around half of the families in their school community are from low socioeconomic backgrounds. Yes, half. Every day they see children arriving at school without lunch, with shoes held together by rubber bands, or holding a plastic bag instead of a backpack. She spoke about the way that teachers quietly step in, giving the children the things they need, but always framing it as, we had these lying around, they weren't being used. They do it that way to protect the dignity of the children and their parents, because they know how easily shame and stigma can take hold. This is what happens when poverty limits opportunities. Children miss school, they fall behind, they feel left out. Something as simple as a backpack or a pair of shoes can decide whether a child stays home or goes to school. I'll never forget one of the first families we ever helped. A single mum, a refugee with 7 children and an 8th on the way. Her older kids weren't going to school because she simply couldn't get them there. The logistics of trying to get all of her children out of the house without a safe way to transport the littlest members of her family was completely impossible. So we gave her a double pram, and suddenly those older kids could get to school. That pram wasn't just transport. It restored a daily routine. It brought opportunity back into those children's lives. I grew up in Canberra and I went to local public schools. I knew there was need here, but I had no idea of the extent of it until I started to hear stories like this. About 1/3 of the families we help at Roundabout are homeless or living in unstable housing. Most often that doesn't look like sleeping rough on the street, but couch surfing, staying in temporary or crisis accommodation, or sometimes living in a car or even a shed. The housing crisis in the ACT is real, and it extends right across Australia. But the way it shows up for families is often largely invisible until you look more closely. And even for families that do have a roof over their heads, the pressure is relentless. Every day, parents are forced to make impossible choices. Do I pay rent, buy food, put fuel in my car, pay medical expenses, or buy my kids the things they need? When families face this kind of pressure, even the most basic items like a toothbrush or toothpaste can feel out of reach. But when these needs are met, the pressure eases. Parents can breathe, children can feel safe, and they can start to tackle the bigger challenges that lay ahead. And when services can meet these material needs, it's often the first crucial step in building trust and a relationship with the families they're supporting so they can help them through those challenges. A caseworker told me about a mum who'd arrived in Canberra fleeing a violent relationship with her 2 young children. They'd left home suddenly with nothing but the clothes on their backs. For weeks, they'd been living on the lounge room floor of a relative's house, out of backpacks, with no money for food, let alone Christmas, which was just around the corner. She faced not just the trauma of what they'd been through, but also the overwhelming fear of wondering how on earth they'd get back on their feet, cover the cost of essentials, and bring any sense of normality or joy back into their lives. So when she was given the items her children needed, plus a few carefully chosen gifts, the relief was overwhelming. She said for the first time in weeks she felt she could breathe. Her children had the simple joy of opening gifts on Christmas Day, and she had the dignity of being able to provide that for them. For me, dignity is at the heart of all of this. Poverty isn't just about going without things, it's about how that feels. For a child, that can be as simple as walking into school with a backpack or opening their lunchbox without embarrassment. But for parents, it's more than just knowing their children have these things. It's about being able to provide that for them. It's the relief of not feeling inadequate or judged, and the pride of knowing their children will be treated with the same respect as other children. That's what dignity means in this context: belonging, pride, and a little breathing space for families facing enormous pressure. In all of this, I often think about my own children and how lucky they are to have what they want and need, but also how fortunate they are to grow up seeing this work every day, to know that not all children have these things, but to see the role that community can play to step in and make a difference. And I've seen that power of community many times. I'll never forget our first goods drive in 2018. The skies opened in one of the worst thunderstorms I've ever seen. The rain poured, the thunder rolled, and I thought, no one will come. Honestly, if it was me, I'd be home with a cup of tea. But the cars started to pull up. People stepped out, drenched, but arms full of donations. And those donations became the first items we gave to local kids who otherwise would have gone without. That day taught me something I'll never forget. People want to help. They just need a way to do it. If you step into our warehouse, you'll see our volunteers working side by side, folding clothes, making packs, cleaning prams. There's a feeling you get the moment you step inside, the hum of conversation, the laughter, the quiet care in every action. One of our volunteers who loves making linen packs told me that her favourite part is making them look beautiful. She carefully selects sheets and blankets to make sure they're like a gift for the family receiving them. She said her favourite part is making them look beautiful, and she pictures the happiness those packs will bring. And seeing that over and over again eventually changed me too. For a long time, I thought Roundabout would be something I did as a volunteer alongside my paid job in the public service. But during COVID, I had time to pause. I was working from home, homeschooling my kids, which for those who did the same will know was a serious lesson in patience. But it made me think, am I spending my time in ways that really matter? So I decided to take 12 months leave without pay from my job in the public service to take on the role of CEO at Roundabout. And 1 month in, I knew I wasn't going back, because what I was doing here was more meaningful than anything I'd done before. Not because of me, but because of what I was part of, a community of people coming together to help others. This issue of material deprivation isn't just a Canberra issue. It's an Australian issue. Whether it's kids in remote communities without access to clothing, or children in capital cities missing school because they don't have a lunchbox or a backpack, the impact is the same. Opportunities shrink, stress grows, and dignity is lost. The truth is, none of us can solve this alone, but all of us can do something. There are hundreds of people in this room. Imagine the impact if each of us not only gave time, money, or goods, but we started conversations in our schools, workplaces, or communities. Conversations about material deprivation and the way it limits opportunities, damages relationships, and strips families of their dignity. We won't eradicate poverty overnight, but together we can make sure that no child misses school because they don't have the basics, that parents feel supported, not invisible, because material deprivation isn't just about what's missing, it's about what's lost. Change doesn't just come from charities. It comes from people refusing to look away, from communities refusing to accept that any child should go without. So what I'm asking of you today is, refuse to look away. Refuse to accept. That's the power of community.